Welcome to the Ironman Insider, presented by Morton, where we dive into the grit, the grind, and the glory of endurance racing. And I'm your host, Matt Lieto. Whether you're a seasoned triathlete, an aspiring age group, or just love the stories of incredible human resilience, you're in the right place. Now, the Ironman Pro Series races are now upon us, with the best athletes in the world all vying for their chance at the title and their piece of the $1.7 million prize pool. And last year was a fun dynamic and a year of racing. I think it was exciting for all of us. And no doubt this year is going to be the same. And we've got a lot of new faces in the series. And that'll no doubt be on the leaderboard with athletes like Magnus Ditlev now focusing on the series as well. Magnus, he's a rising star in long distance triathlon, and he's known for his dominant bike splits and his ability to, pretty early in his career, be a real contender for absolutely every race he enters, including the World Championships. And he's coming off his second place at the VinFast IRONMAN World Championship in Kona just this last year and getting ready to start his season in South Africa here shortly. And pretty excited to have Magnus on with us. What's going on, Magnus?
Oh, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I'm good. Very good, thanks. Just in Denmark. Came home from a short camp in Lanzarote last week, but mainly been home in Denmark this winter and been training slowly, steadily building for hopefully a good season.
Yeah, awesome, man. Were you able to give yourself a little bit of time off after Kona and get a rebuild and refresh?
Yeah, I took after the season, I took a bit longer off season than usual, and also went on my first proper vacation together with my girlfriend since I can't even remember when that was the last time I was on a true vacation with no training and so on. And yeah, it was good to get away and have some time with my girlfriend there. And also, when I got back, I continued not doing anything for a week or two after that. So yeah, really took a long season break, and yeah, there was a lot of big races last year, and especially Kona. Really, I think as people could see it, it was a pretty tough edition. Everyone
Yeah.
completely cooked themselves except for Patrick, and yeah, that took a lot mentally and physically to deliver that race. And I think it's on the long term and thinking in about the future, it's good to take some breaks and really reset.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, especially with, we'll talk about it, South Africa coming up in the start list that's there being, looking like almost a world championship field. It seems like that's, people, especially with the Pro Series, and, obviously it went this last year all the way into December, this next year in November in Marbella. But the importance of realizing what you're putting your body through and recovering, because you've seen some of your competitors went and raced, at Ironmans after Kona, and then lining up for this. Like, how important do you think it was for you to do like a full reset coming off of that last year, but importantly coming into a year that's going to be pretty long and pretty important?
Yeah, I think as you say, when the season is scheduled as it is, and there are with the Pro Series high level competitions frequently, we don't really know actually. I guess what's gonna happen in the future. I really enjoy it for now, but we don't really know when. Where if a young guy like me will burn out in the future or not. But I mean, I really coming back to the last part of your question is
Yeah.
I think it's really really important, especially for a guy like me that is when I'm on and thinking triathlon and doing triathlon, I basically spend every hour I'm awake thinking about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how I can do things
Right.
better. And sometimes to the point where it gets too much, and I have to also during the season back off a little bit and yeah, take a few days to recover and relax. And then yeah, after the season, for me it's I think it wasn't that I had any niggles or felt like my shape wasn't really like I was in the best shape of my life, and I didn't have any injuries or so on. So last season it wasn't physically, but mentally I really needed the break. And then in the beginning, I don't really like want to do triathlon and don't want to train even. And then I know for myself when I start to like want to wake up in the morning and actually want to go for
Yeah.
a short run or something, then I know that I'm soon like recharged and ready to go again. But in the first 2 weeks, I didn't feel like doing anything when I woke up, and then I was just relaxing. So that was nice.
Dude, that's awesome. I think it's great to hear that the best athletes in the sport can get to that point. Because I agree. I think you have to get to a point where you don't want to do it and you're
Mm.
like okay not doing it and out of compulsion and habit. You're not just that's not your whole existence. You can find other things to do, but then when that light switch turns on and you're excited about it, like that's what you need is that excitement back, right? That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Then you start thinking about what you want to achieve next year, and then yeah, you know that you are getting hungry again and can, yeah, thinking about the World Championships in Nice, and then I know it's about time to get back. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people are actually like, and I was that also in the beginning, like a bit afraid of letting go and losing fitness. But I think it's really important that you do that and accept that okay, you cannot be in peak shape all the time, and then just yeah, it comes surprisingly quick. It goes both ways very quickly. You are really feeling like a bag of shit when you start training after an off season, but after a few weeks, you are like going pretty well again.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. There's almost this that correlates, right? Like the worse you feel after taking a break means your body's actually like absorbing and recovering, and then the come back out is going to be a good thing. It's those people that kind of keep their foot in the water and don't allow themselves to like actually release that have that trouble of coming back. Now you're talking about looking into next season, obviously World Championship in Nice, but yeah, tell us a little bit about your schedule. What's coming up?
Yeah, so I think as you said in the introduction, I'm going to do South Africa first. So that is in already in 2.5 weeks, I believe. And yeah, so that's coming up real quick, and that will be my first race of the season. It's a Pro Series race, so that will be. I did Kona last year as the only Pro Series race, so this will be my first non-World Championship Pro Series race, which
Cool.
I'm looking forward to. And then after that, I'm gonna do 70.3 St. George. I've raced there, I think 3 times, and always had an amazing experience. And I think that's a course that suits me pretty well. And then we are yeah, hopefully I will then have qualified for both Nice and Marbella 70.3 Worlds, and then to fulfill like the last Ironman race of the Pro Series. Yeah, that then I will do Frankfurt, which it seems is gonna
Sweet.
be the first almost World Championships. It seems that everyone is gonna do that. So I think Frankfurt and Nice are going to be really really stacked.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean it's cool to see. I mean, I'm stoked obviously to see you come to race and commit to the Pro Series, and I mean obviously those races all seem to suit you. That St. George, were you not? That was a World Championship. You were podium there, right?
Yeah, I podium that 70.3 worlds. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. When I was in St. George, and that's obviously a course that seems to suit you. But like, do you look at the like? I think people listening, and I certainly am curious how you pick that schedule, right? Is it what suits you time wise or what suits you as far as like the toughness of the courses, or obviously the world championships kind of those are going to choose themselves to a certain extent. But how do you go about looking at that pro series calendar and decide what it's going to be for you?
Yeah, so the way we kind of did it this year, I mean, it's always pretty similar. As you know, you have your main goal or your North Star, what you really want to achieve. And for me, that is the Ironman World Championships. And this year it's in Nice. So you have that as your kind of the first thing you plot into a calendar. And then I knew that I wanted to do the Pro Series around that as well. So then
Right.
after that, you kind of look at how can I schedule the season in order to arrive in Nice in the best possible shape and give me the best possible conditions to perform in Nice. So for that was how we went about it. I think I want to do, of course, really well in the Pro Series, but for me, the Ironman World Championships is the most important thing. And then we really just also there are some factors we also considering, like which courses suits me and so on. And also with Nice we have kind of like the last, I've done 3 Ironman World Championships so far, and I haven't managed to swim with the front pack in any of those. I've managed to
Yeah.
swim with front packs in many other competitions, 70.3 Ironmans and so on, and but never in a Championship. So a big priority this year for me is really putting in a big focus on the swim, and that means that I've started up working with a new swim coach here in Denmark. And
Oh,
then
cool.
when you do that, I kind of commit to being home a little bit more. So that's the reason why I've been in Lanzarote for 2 weeks now before. But other than that, we have tried to stay home a little bit more. So those are some things that goes into like the planning of everything.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. There's a lot in that that I want to talk about. That's sweet. And obviously that swim, to me it's cool to see someone so new in the sport that has realized their weakness, but also you've gained so much in your swim already. But it's cool to see you be like, no, you're not screwing around, because we used to see athletes that would just be like, oh, in time it'll get better, and then 4 years later they're like, I still haven't really gotten to where I need to be. And uh, you know really getting after it and trying to kind of nip it in the bud, so to speak, is helpful. Was it this year in Kona? Like, and I don't know if you realize how close you were to being in
Yeah,
that
I
front
know.
group,
Yeah,
but you were, right? Like, you
yeah,
were all the way through the turnaround, and it was just Sam. Does that, you would think some people would see that and be like, okay, I'm almost there, I'll be fine. But you saw that and you're like, no, I need to
yeah.
actually fix this to make sure I'm on that group.
Yeah, yeah, I saw it as I need to become such a good swimmer that I can handle a situation like that, that I can, if a gap opens up, then I need to be able to close it myself. It's not okay to rely on the people, because I'm a good enough swimmer to always stay on the feet of the one I am behind. So I very rarely loses the feet. But in
Okay.
Kona, it was when we turned around, Sam put in the surge, and then the person I was on the feet of opened a gap. And then I simply was like, if I had been a better swimmer, I could have closed that gap
Right.
myself. Instead, I had to rely on the person I was swimming behind, that he was able to either close it or make sure that he could like swim fast enough that the gap wasn't as big. And I want to
Yeah.
put myself in a situation where if I'm boxed completely in after 300 meters and I already lost the group, then I want to be able to swim like as well as I then can close it myself. So I'm kind of not relying on luck or if I'm at the right place at the right time. And that's, I think, the good swimmers, they, if you put them in my position at the turnaround point, they would have been able to close the gap. So that's what I saw.
No, that's awesome. And I think it's cool because so often you see race reports or Instagram or whatever, and people will say, oh, I was having a great swim, and everybody's always in the front group. Doesn't matter if they actually are or not, but they're always saying they're on the front group. And then the guy in front of me let a gap open, and they kind of like leave it there. And it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
they often will take it upon themselves and be like, oh, okay, but I should be able to get around that. And, and what can I ask? Obviously, with the new coach, things are going to be, you're working on your own thing. But are there certain parts of your swimming that you could share with us that you're working on? Is it more 25s, more 50s? Like, are you doing more speed work, more threshold work? Like, what kind of effort are you trying to do to make up to allow you to have more gears in that race?
So there are many things we are working on, but first I probably have to say that I was never like a swimmer from, yeah, I've never been swimming before I turned to triathlon, which was also very late. So that was when
Yeah.
I was 18 years old or something like that. I started swimming, which is not what most of the best swimmers have done. I try not to see it as an excuse, but that just means my starting point was that I wasn't even able to swim 50 meters without, yeah, taking breaks and so on. So I think
Rad.
first of all that I've actually managed quite well to get after it and swim decently, so that I'm sometimes actually able to hit the front pack. But still, that also I have used a really good swim coach before, but he was based in another part of Denmark, so he wasn't able to see me like every day. And now with the
Right.
new swim coach, he basically sees me swim every morning, which is it makes things so much easier, and it makes it, yeah. Then we really have the time to work on certain skills, and those skills are actually quite basic because I didn't learn to swim from a young age. So some of the things we're working on is like position, the way I'm like laying in the water. We
Yeah.
want to raise my especially hip and legs a little bit more. I'm like
Sure.
little bit more, a little bit like a banana in the water, which is not
Yeah.
really. Yeah, it creates drag in the water, which is not good. So that is the main thing we're working on at the moment, is the position of my, yeah, uh, me in the water, you could say, and also
Yeah.
the head position is not super well. I'm looking a bit more too much in front and not looking down on the black line. So those are like some of the technical things we work on, and then triathletes always say that's, or yeah, that swimming is purely technique, but I don't think it is. There is also an element of hard work, and I think maybe we have fall in the trap of thinking that swimming is only technique. So we do technique like a lot and every day. And then maybe not skipping, but not having enough focus on also the conditioning and just the hard work of swimming. Is you really need to swim a lot to become good.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you have the best technique, but you're not able to hold it more than 50 meters, then it doesn't matter. So there is the technique part, and then we are also just working a lot on swimming more than I did before. So swimming a lot of meters and a lot of quality meters as well. So there is always, in every session, there is some kind of uh, intensity aspect to it, either just like moderate aerobic efforts or threshold or VO2, but there is always something. It's not just all easy swimming today. So yeah,
Yeah.
many things.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing all that. And yeah, it's funny because I think there's been in triathlon, I think, especially someone like you that didn't have a swimming background could easily go into what I've seen for decades, which is like, I'm just a bad swimmer. That's just going to be my thing. I'm going to try to get better. But like a good swimmer's, it's all about technique. Good swimmers are good swimmers. Bad swimmers are bad swimmers. It's like, no, good swimmers are swimming 50K a week.
Yeah,
And the
exactly.
bad swimmers are swimming 15K a week because they think they're
Yeah,
bad swimmers. Like
yeah.
it's about hard work, and it doesn't seem like you're afraid of it.
No, I mean that's, yeah. You have to do the dirty work. No one's gonna do it for you. And yeah, so I'm swimming a bit more than I'm used to at the moment, and my arms are definitely feeling it. But I can also see progress, which is really nice.
That's awesome. And I think obviously the sport being raised and what the athletes around you are doing is the reason you have to. I wanted to talk to you, and we will today, about like marginal gains on the bike and all those different things. But 10 years ago, someone like you with your bike ability and run ability, losing a couple minutes in the swim in Kona, you'd still be able to win the
Yeah, it
race.
doesn't matter. Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. So like, is it, how much of that are you putting on? I mean, to me, it was remarkable. And one of the most exciting parts of that race was Sam being the pre-race favorite, defending champion, being the one who went to the front and blew the race apart, got you out of that front group, all while the Eye of the Tiger, the theme song to Rocky, was playing, which was like the craziest thing ever. I thought it was awesome. But like, is it, you're in this era where the favorites are also the ones making each discipline. Is that just, do you think that's helped you have to focus and refine so earlier in your career?
Yeah, I think that is like the reason why I'm putting so much focus on the swim. I mean, in Kona I was 70 seconds behind, so a few years ago you wouldn't say you wouldn't say that's bad, or you would just
No.
then it would be okay, and you could close it on the bike and then still be in the race. But I think the way long distance triathlon develops at the moment is absolutely crazy, and you cannot have, I wouldn't even say a weakness. You need to be top, like top of the field in all three disciplines in order to win. And I could see that I didn't make the front pack in Kona, and if I did, I would probably, like Sam and I rode pretty much the same pace until Hawi, and I
Yeah.
think it would have changed everything. That's at least what I tell myself, that if I had been in the front group, because then I would have ridden with Sam, and then probably Sam wouldn't have gone so hard, and we could have shared the load, and then everything could have happened. And that was the same in Nice 2 years ago, and yeah, in Kona 22, the same story. I had to go really hard in the beginning of the bike to get back up, and that just takes something out of you that you would rather use on the marathon. So I think it is just a consequence of how the sport is developing at the moment, yes.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I love the way you think about that too, because I think a lot of people will go back and look at their races and just look at it from a time point of view, right? Like, oh, if I would have done
Yeah,
this, then I would have been in position to maybe beat Patrick. But you're like, no,
no, no.
tactically, if I'm here, I'm
Yeah,
then with Sam and we're both doing this, and then the
yeah,
race, the whole dynamics is different. So do you
yeah.
think if you swim the front group, Sam also has a better chance of winning? Obviously, you're there, so it's more
I don't
challenging. But
think
like
he has a
his,
better chance, but I think he has a better chance of becoming second. Then let's put
yeah,
it that way.
totally.
No, but it is as you say. It's not those 70 seconds. It's not about that. It's about the whole dynamic that changes completely. If I'm able to swim with the front group in the World Championship fields, then yeah, then I can make so many different decisions in the in the beginning part of the bike, and I think that's at least something I would like to explore and see what happens then.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, so maybe talk more about Kona since we're kind of on it. Do you think then do you look at it at all tactically, and is there a point where you have to kind of choose who you think the person you have to beat is, right? Like, would your race have been different if you thought Patrick is the person I had to beat or Christian is the person I had to beat? And it all changes, but it sounds like, obviously you thought Sam and we all thought Sam was the person to beat, and he was until,
Yeah.
minor things went wrong that turned major. Do you think you chasing Sam maybe put you into that spot where you kind of had that obviously challenging last portion of the bike ride?
Yeah, for sure. It made me over like take some risks in the beginning of the bike, which is never really what you want to do early on in Kona. So uh, if you said to me before the race that Sam's going to blow up and Patrick is gonna be the main man to watch out for, then if I knew that on the bike, then I wouldn't have gone so super hard up until Harvey to like try to bridge the gap. Then I would have made the attack, and then I would have like maybe steadily increased the gap instead of like really pushing hard. So you never know if I would have struggled on the last part of the bike, but I probably would have paced it differently, and then hopefully would have had some more energy on the last part of the bike. But yeah, I think that's just the delicate balance you have to strike when you are racing for the win in a world championships, is that you have to somehow react on the favorites around you. But on the other hand, Ironman is such a long day that it's always also you need to stay within yourself and you have to do your own race, but you can't really, it's that balance between what are the others doing and what's your own game plan is very difficult to get right. And I think in Kona, three of us definitely went to the more extreme side of that equation, while Patrick seemed to be focusing entirely on his plan and knew what he could do, and that proved to be the right thing on the day.
Yeah, and I mean it set up for him obviously, and I don't take anything away from Patrick's race because the way, people say, oh, he was in the group, but man, that guy was like off the group, back on the group, off the group, back on the group, and was not really anywhere close as far as like drafting goes where I saw it. But the way the race panned out, like he would have never guessed that he would have ridden the bike split that he rode, right? Like that was crazy. But dynamics, I think people are used to triathlon thinking it's a time trial, but
Yeah.
especially in Kona, it's not a time trial, man. You gotta race your competitors.
Yeah, especially in World Championships, that's just how it is. And that's the beauty of winning a World Championship title, is that it's so difficult, and everyone is willing to take some risks, and then when it clicks, it's just yeah, amazing. I guess I've never
Yeah.
tried it, but I can imagine.
Dude, it's awesome though. I feel like when you said winning a world championship, like your face lit up, right? And like that's
Yeah.
clearly a lot of the reason why you're so excited and thinking about all these different things. And I love it. And you've gotten incredibly close, obviously. And yeah, just so Kona, just want to talk quickly a little bit more about Kona, just because it was such a dynamic race and obviously goes into this next year, and how people are gonna race, in Nice and then in Kona in 2026. When you, just curious, with someone that's putting that kind of effort in, did you know that the weight of the world was going to come on you when you went up like scenic climb, and that it was going to start getting hard? And did you have the ability to start preparing for it, or did it like kind of come out of nowhere? And was it, I mean, I know what I saw of you in transition, but out on the bike, did it feel as bad as I might think it felt?
Yeah, it felt really bad. It felt like I've never felt on a bike before. I felt completely defeated, and mentally and physically, because I could see that Sam was continuing his ride at that pace, and I had to let go, and I felt pain in my glute, which I have never felt
Oh
before,
shit.
and I felt I wasn't able to sustain the aero position anymore because of that. And mentally, I was in a really dark spot because I thought the race was over, and I struggled to understand how I was even going to finish the race. So it was a that was that was the hard that and T2 of course was the hardest part of the race. The marathon actually went better and better throughout the day, but that last part of the bike was really painful, and contemplating quitting and just sitting at the side of the road. Yeah, that was a big struggle.
Yeah, I mean, contemplating your whole life existence probably at that point, you get a little emotional,
Yeah,
probably.
feeling like a bag of shit that you have like spent so much time and energy, and so many people are supporting you in your dream, and then you are just yeah, not able to ride even 220 watts anymore in the last part of the bike, and yeah, that was not good.
No, no, and it feels terrible out there. And I think it's funny, nobody talks about it, but you experienced it, so I want you to talk about it. That transition is the worst place on the planet, especially if you've like overdone it. You're like, oh, I was hot and I've been dealing with being hot, but whoa, it's like hotter now. And it's like so like, and you have to think about what you're trying to do. Tell us where you were physically and emotionally and what it does feel like when you get off of that bike, especially when you put the kind of effort in that you have.
Yeah, so first I was very worried about the pain in my left glute, if it was going to continue when I was running. But yeah, I felt pretty stiff in the glute when I just jumped off the bike, but I could feel it wasn't like any like proper damage. It was more just really, tight. So I
Got
I thought that that was probably going to be okay. So that was my first worry. And then you always try to tell yourself that, and I've also had days where I feel really bad on the last part of the bike, but then start running and feel good. So I try to kind of tell myself you will feel much better when you start running, but then I could also feel that I just didn't have much like pop in the legs. So that was the second observation I made. And then you run your way into the tent, which is crazy warm in there.
Yeah.
But then the volunteers were absolutely amazing, handing the cold towels over you. So I just wanted to to sit there forever. And I didn't know where the others were. I just knew that Robert Callan had overtaken me, but I didn't really know where everyone else was. And then I was sitting in there for maybe a little bit too long, and everyone came by, and yeah, that was when things got even more difficult, because then you just realize that you spent 180k for nothing. Like the gap
Right.
was zero, and that wasn't really very very good for me, especially given how I thought. So yeah, that was I was sitting in front of the other Dane, Christian Hogenhaug, and I tried to look up at him and get some kind of yeah uh, motivating something out of him, but he was pretty in the zone, so he just ran out the tent, and yeah, then I was slowly making my way through, putting on the socks and shoes, and yeah, but didn't really feel like running, to be honest. So I made the decision to at least, because the plan was that my girlfriend was going to be standing pretty early on alley drive. So I thought I might as well run that part and see how it goes, and until and maybe she has something that can
Yeah.
cheer me up or whatever. Just get some impression from her, something that can help me a little bit. But then, yeah, then she wasn't at the place that we had planned, and I was like actually thinking about dropping out when I would see her, and she wasn't there. So I got really annoyed and frustrated that she wasn't at the
Yeah,
spot that
that's
we had
awesome.
planned, and it turned out she had moved all the way down to the turnaround point on Alley Drive, and so I had to continue to until I saw her. That was pretty annoying in the moment, but I think it was actually a good thing that she had done that. Because then when I saw her, I had already been running for, was it that 6 kilometers or something when you turn around at Ali?
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
so
like
then
that.
I'm already pretty well into it, and you can't really, it's very far away from everything, so you can't really quit there.
Yeah, you got to
And
get back.
yeah, you have to get back some way, so I started running back. And that was also when, yeah, I started noticing that people that had gone past me in the beginning really fast started running the same pace as I was. And I was, yeah, doing okay, like doing like 350 to 355 per kilometer, which it wasn't the pace I was planning on beforehand if I was feeling good, but it wasn't terrible either. So then you just keep going, and people in front of me were starting to struggle, and that's kind of when things turned around again.
That's awesome, dude. I love that, and I'm glad I asked because that's a much cuter story than I thought it might be. Like, like I didn't think you'd be like so excited to see your girlfriend and that was going to be the thing. That's awesome. I love it.
I don't know if I was excited. I was just looking for some yeah
No, that's awesome.
emotional thing. I don't know what yeah I was hoping for, but
Well, no, it's funny actually. You see it all the time, and I've seen so many people drop out in those races. Like you just, it's sometimes that significant other needs to just hide
yeah, yeah.
because
I think
seriously,
Yeah, I think I don't think I would have dropped out if she had been standing on the spot where we had planned, but I think it would have I maybe would have taken a small break, talking to her a little bit or something, and then it's pretty hard to if you have started to walk once, then it's much easier to do it later. So
yeah,
I think it was actually a really good thing that she wasn't there, even
Yeah.
though in the moment I was absolutely I was so angry. But
I love it. I love it. And man, I think like there's a few things that always stand out in different uh, world championships, and I'll say like who I thought had the best race. That's not the winner. Like I feel like in some ways, Leon Chevalier had like this amazing race because he was kind of on his own all day, and he got so close, very similar position to you. And then as far as like who I think had the most surprising and like comeback. Like, dude, I would have bet my house. Like, I didn't think, I was like, man, Magnus is, I don't think he's standing up. Like, he likes those
no,
towels a lot. Like, I don't think he wants to give up those towels. I
no.
would have bet my house that you wouldn't have finished with how you looked and where your energy was. It was more like I used to seeing you positive and it didn't like you weren't negative, but you could tell you were like, oh man, this is going to be brutal. But
Yeah.
for you to keep going and getting through that and obviously ending up second place, would you also have bet the house against yourself at that point?
Yeah, I would never have thought if you asked me in T2. I don't think I could have seen a world where I would end up finishing second. And if you
Yeah.
had asked me before the race that if you run 2:46, you're going to finish second, then I would also have said that that's not possible in Kona anymore. But yeah, it just shows how tough a day everyone had out there.
No, and you probably would have said 246 wouldn't do it,
Yeah,
and you would have assumed that would have been you off the front with some crazy bike split too,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was crazy.
That's awesome. And so with that result and kind of that battle that was out there, does that how much does that prove to you that like obviously anything can happen on race day, but that like now do you feel like a world championship is way more attainable than you thought it was before that race day?
I don't know if I feel it's more attainable because I wasn't really, even though I was second, I was still pretty far behind
Right.
Patrick. But I know that I didn't have the day I could have had, and I know I have I, if I had paced things differently, things could have been different. And then 6 minutes is a lot, but that's not with how things develop, it's yeah. I don't think I was a 6 minutes worse athlete than Patrick at that time. It's just how the race goes. But I feel that with that experience, I have something to draw upon for future grueling battles in championship races that I'm really happy that I have now, and I hopefully can use that in the future. And then I know that I have what it takes to become a world champion. I know that from the training and from what I've done in the past. It's just about putting it together on the day, which is the difficult part.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, I think having that, and usually we don't say, oh, you learn from like your bad races. And I'm talking to somebody who got second at a world championship, right? Because like that
Yeah.
wasn't a bad race in by any
It
means.
was a bad execution, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, possibly, or certainly not the execution you thought, but having that in the back of your head all the time, the next time you're like, man, this is hard. I don't think I can finish. You're like, remember that one time I didn't think I could finish and I got second at a world championship? Like, how big of a weapon do you think that is mentally for you?
Yeah, that would be interesting, and because obviously you don't train where you go to places like that, so I never have used it before. But it's and I hope to not be able to go that deep
Yeah,
or yeah in South Africa. But I think it's still it learns like an experience like that also. Uh, yeah, gives me some knowledge about who I want to be as like then I could have quit easily, and yeah, people would probably it wouldn't have been it would have been terrible, but yeah, that would have been like the easy solution. But
sure.
when you don't do it, and you then you need to kind of figure out why at a bigger why than just the winning the World Championships. So when you kind of get on a level like that, which is not just result oriented, and you find motivation in different things, that's what I think I learned most of in Kona, is what can I draw upon of values and motivations and so on when I'm really in a dark place.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Because you're right. You could have dropped out and nobody would have thought twice about it, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
it's yeah, it's awesome to see you kind of move on from that and continue kind of your great string on in World Championship events. And Nice, we learned a lot from that, I'm sure, last year. And then obviously every race you do, you're learning. What do you think it's going to take this year to win a World Championship in Nice?
I think we have already talked a little bit about it with the swim part. I think
Right.
if I manage to swim with the front group, it will make it much easier. Don't say I'm not saying that I'm not. It's not possible to win if you are 70 seconds behind after the swim, but I think for me that would make it much easier, and that would hopefully be yeah. Hopefully I'm able to get my swimming to a level where I can do that, and then I believe I've showed already that I have the bike run combo to be competitive for the World Championship title. So that is, yeah, we kind of know what to do to get to that level again.
Yeah.
And then the hardest, or not the hardest thing, but it is just about staying consistent in the training until that point. I think that is the most important thing actually, is not getting any major injuries or breaks from training. So I know if I'm able to train like we want to until Nice, then and figuring out a little bit on the swim, then I think I have the tools to come, yeah, to fight for the victory.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And do you at all look at, like, to me, it feels a lot like Kat Matthews in Nice this year, right? Like she's similar swimmer, always kind of close but not quite there. And then this year she's front group, and it kind of changed the way that she was able to spend energy early. Do you look at that and be like, okay, yeah, Kat did it. Maybe I can do that too.
Yeah, yeah, there are some great examples of people that have hit front packs in yeah, in World Championships also. I've also hit the front packs in smaller races, but never in a World Championships, and it is definitely possible. That's for sure.
Sweet. Yeah, and I think when people think about it too, and they think about the 70 seconds, but what you're doing and what you're realizing is that it is the 70 seconds, but it's you not having to play a huge card,
Yeah,
right? You can just be in the race, and then you have another card to play when it maybe matters a little bit more, or it can have more impact on the other athletes.
yeah, yeah. It's not just the 70 say the 70 seconds is of course yeah, it's important as a one just above 1 minute, but it's more the dynamics that changes. If I'm in the front group, I think then people will probably uh, yeah, get a little bit terrified if I'm able to attack just straight off the front, which I haven't done in a World Championship before. So
Yeah.
that would be one card to play. Another would be to like then sit in the group for a little bit and see what's going on and save some energy and maybe put a search in later. And it just gives me so much more yeah, flexibility in my race strategy.
Awesome. Awesome. And obviously, you've got a lot of other races on your calendar. South Africa coming up pretty soon. And it's, one of the benefits of the pro series is you get more opportunity to race these kinds of really good fields that are, kind of practice, so to speak, for World Championship. I'm just going to read off a few names because this start list is ridiculous and it would take me an hour to read through it. But we got Svenningson, Ditlev, Van Riel, Chevalier, Bradley Weiss, Matt Hansen, Cam Worth, Mike Phillips, Riddle, Matt Burton. Like, pretty stacked field, and another 60 guys, I think, at that point. What do you think that race is gonna look like? What do you think the dynamics there are? Is that a race where it's like, okay, obviously you want to be front pack,
Mm.
Is it a race where you go into world champs tactics, or do you race these races a little bit differently?
I think South Africa is, first of all, I hope the swim will be like a regular swim. It has
We
been
all are.
so
We all are.
shortened before due to various reasons, I think, and I hope it will be a full length swim, even though people can say that it'll probably suit me more if it's shortened or cancelled. But I want to get this
Yeah, that's
data
awesome.
point to see where I stand now after the swim focus. I don't expect miracles on the swim. Like it's really about knees. Like it's like a 1 year plan with the swim. You can't expect
Sure.
just suddenly to jump up in the group, but hoping to see some improvements on the swim. If it's choppy and yeah, tough conditions, then it might not show because then everything gets a little bit more chaotic and so on. So I probably should be careful about evaluating too much if the swim is like super difficult.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
hopefully a good swim, and then I'm looking very much forward to race against Van Riel. I think he's an interesting. Yeah, I think he did Cozumel last year, but that was he crashed on the bike,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that was hard to tell what he is really capable of, and yeah, he's definitely a really good athlete. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then you have Leon, who was like he is just rock solid, and you know he will be there. He's always good on the Ironman distance, so I think we are the three probably favorites. And then, but as you say, when you mentioned the names, the depth is incredible. So it will be. It's always hard to say how the dynamics will unfold, but I imagine I am going to be, yeah, in a position where Martin and I end up on the bike together at one point, and then see if I can drop him, and then you have probably Cam, Rasmus, and Leon in a big train coming from behind.
Yeah.
Maybe with some other guys that is able to hang on along the way. So that's also I think it will be probably be like two groups, and then we'll see which one moves the quickest. But that is also some pretty good firepower coming from behind. So that will be interesting.
Yeah. And do you, now you say, and I appreciate everything you're saying in that, and that's all true. But do you think, and I don't know, so I'm actually asking, can Van Riel, do you think Van Riel can sit on you and stay with you for the back half of an Ironman?
I would think not, but he is he is a very strong athlete, and I haven't beaten him yet. We haven't raced the full distance against each other so far, so I think I'm a better Ironman athlete than he is. He doesn't have the experience also, so I'm looking forward to. That's really what I'm looking forward to see how he manages the second half of the bike course, and if I'm able to get away, how what will the gap then be? Like, is it going to extend really to a big number, or is he able to kind of yeah, see close, yeah, come in close to me in T2, and then how is he going to run after a bike that has been ridden hard? That's also a little bit uncertain. We know he is probably one of the best runners, but how is he gonna run after a really hard bike?
Now, that's my question, is it like, how deep do you look into those tactics, right? Like, so let's say if you decide Van Riel's the guy you got to beat and you're with him on the bike, is there a point where you then have some gamesmanship where you're like, okay, I'm going to see how hard I can make him ride, to, and him thinking you're riding as fast as you can. And like, cause there's times in the past we've seen, back in the day when you want to drop a group, doing a hard effort to drop the group, them letting you go and then them setting in their own pace, that's better for them. You going to the front and just towing them along at a 10% higher pace than they're capable of, then they explode, right? Like, is
Yeah,
there any tactic like that? Or am I overthinking things?
There can definitely be some tactics like that. It depends a little bit on the situation and who you are with and how how they react on your first move. It's really hard to plan everything like that
Sure.
beforehand, but it's a little bit how in the situation what you. But it is definitely an interesting, like if you overpace the entire bike, you can do that, but then you will have a really hard time on the marathon, and yeah, so
There you go. So, question: do you think if you both have well executed bikes, and swims and bikes, and I'm only picking up Van Riel because I know you respect Leon and everybody else that's in the race. What kind of gap do you think you need on Van Riel to win the race if you're both got good legs and both are going to have a good run?
if I have good legs, then I don't think I need a gap.
Nice,
Then I
nice.
think I can run with close to anybody, depending on if it's in Kona, obviously you don't want to start the run with Patrick, but if it's more moderate, I think South Africa can actually be pretty warm, but still not Kona conditions. But if I'm feeling good after the bike, then I think I can I can run with most people.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, I am pretty lucky because I get to commentate that race, so I'm excited
Mm.
to see how it works, and I'll be chatting it up. Okay, and I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some technical stuff real quick because you are a person that is known to push the envelope as far as marginal gains and looking at everything, whether it's how to cool your body the best, how to get the most carbs in your system as possible, whether it's aerodynamics, like all these different things. You know, a seat dropper in Nice blew people's minds. I'm sure that's going to come back this next year. But any areas you're looking into right now that you can share with us?
uh, I'm not going to do any changes before Nice probably,
Oh, cool.
because then people will just copy. If I do it, if I show everything I have in South Africa, then people will see the equipment I use, and then they will probably do some of the similar stuff. So I've learned from past experience that it's important to save the most recent technologies for the biggest race, and that's Nice for me this year. So I'm doing a lot of testing on many things on the bike, but I'm probably maybe some of it will be shown in some races, but if we find something very significant, I probably will save it for Nice.
Dude, I love that. That's so awesome. So awesome. And
And
dude,
maybe
I
we
love
should
that.
start putting out some false traps. Actually, that's what we have been discussing a little bit, is to ride with some stuff that's actually not faster or something like that.
Yeah, like everybody thought Gustav was doing before Kona, right? They they kind of thought he was kidding with that aerodynamic position, but dude, that's so awesome. I absolutely love that. There's some gamesmanship there. And how much fun is it for you to use your kind of engineering background in your brain to be able to like, you're still thinking about triathlon, but it seems like it's a different place you're able to put your effort in than just like training. It's tinkering and it's a different part of your brain. How much fun and how much does that add to kind of your experience?
Yeah, I think for me it's a big part of triathlon. It's as you say, I have an engineering background. It was chemical engineering, so it's not like super related to bike stuff and so on, but it's more the way you think, learn to think as an engineer is really useful in this that space of aero and so on. So I try to bring that into the way I make decisions in triathlon, and that can be also the swim. I think is a good example how
Yeah.
we are approaching the swim at the moment, and the bike, of course, is what everyone is talking about. But there are there are so many aspects that you can really dive into. Sometimes it gets too much, and luckily though I have a coach that is really good at kind of structuring everything like that in a way that it's not. You have to do the training, of course, but I think personally that too many athletes are maybe a little bit afraid of taking a day out to do some research on your equipment or so on, because then they lose one training day. But
Right.
I mean, if you find 5 watts on a new suit, for instance, then that's 1.5 minutes in an Ironman bike leg. And I don't think if someone has a session that you can find 5 watts in one session, then I would be pretty interested in that one. So it's about there is a huge performance benefit to it if you really do it well. And then it's just something that motivates me a lot. Like I have some I believe I have the best team around me with regards to equipment and sports physiology, and being able to work with them and yeah, share ideas and test with them is something that motivates me a lot and actually gives me energy. So some people probably get a bit drained of it or think that it's boring, but for me there's nothing better than spending 5 hours in the lab and geeking out on something really specific and still getting a really good training day out of it, but also using the time to test something new out. So a lot of it is also like doing the training and then testing alongside it, so you're actually getting both things at the same time.
Dude, that's awesome. And I think it's good for your nervous system to be thinking about other
Yeah.
things, and like, you know, that's not stressful for you. That's exciting for you, and it's something that's bringing you joy. And I think that's sweet. And I think your
It's good,
point.
but it's also it can be too much because then I end up looking at Excel spreadsheets in my spare time and trying to, yeah. So I have to sometimes strike the balance of when to think about it and when to just focus on training and recovery.
That's amazing. You'd be up till late hours of the night looking at Excel
Yeah,
spreadsheets.
probably.
That's so awesome. Dude, I love that. That's great. But looking forward to seeing what new stuff you've got coming into Nice. Okay, I don't know if you've looked at time wise, but I'm going to let you go after you tell me what the winning time needs to be in South Africa.
Oh, the winning time. I actually looked yesterday at the course records,
Yeah.
and I think I didn't look at the course records on the swim, but I think it was maybe 46 minutes or something. But so a swim in 46 minutes, but that's very dependent on the conditions. And then I saw that Rasmus did 4:14 bike course record last year, so yeah, I think you can go faster. I did actually race the 70.3 World Championships in South Africa as an age grouper.
No way.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the course is very similar to that. So I have some knowledge about the course, and I think, yeah. So if you say 4:14 plus 46, then you are just below 5 hours, and then the run course will probably 2:37 or something. So
There you go.
uh, 7 hours, and what was Rasmus's? Do you know the overall course record?
I don't know. I don't have that in front
Oh,
of me. You
yeah,
can't
seven
tell me
hours
that,
and
but
42 minutes. I think.
7:42. And so if he went 4:14, what do you think you can go? 4:08, 4:10?
Yeah, probably, but I think that's very dependent on.
Sure.
It is, as I remember, it is very open, and the wind is very, yeah, it plays a big factor in how fast you're going on that course. So I think it's hard to look at course records on a course that is so uh, yeah, condition dependent.
Okay, well, I'm calling it 7:32, and if you don't do that, I'm going to be disappointed.
7:32. Okay, that would be. Then you are quicker. Yeah, then you that would be nice.
I love it. I love it. Well, dude, appreciate you taking the time. I know it's getting kind of towards the end game of training for that big race. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome stuff from Magnus. Love that dude. Love his excitement for the sport and kind of all aspects of it. And obviously, kind of that engineering brain looking at some things a little bit differently. And I've said this before about Magnus. I feel like he's the way he thinks about triathlon is that of someone that is a decade older with a decade more experience. You can just see he's very balanced and smart. Obviously, that's team around him, but great to chat with him. Look forward to seeing what he can do in South Africa. And stay across all the latest Ironman and Ironman Pro Series news. Follow at Ironman Try on Instagram and check out proseries.ironman.com for standings, athlete bios, episodes of A Fighting Chance, replays of races, and more. And obviously, I have to give a big thank you to our presenting sponsor, Morton, the official sports performance nutrition partner of the Ironman Global Series. And all Ironman athletes have access to Morton hydrogels and solids on course in 2025. Appreciate their support. This podcast would not happen without them. So thanks, guys. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. If you're sitting on the trainer, you can also watch this podcast as a video on our Ironman Triathlon YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us on the Ironman Insider Podcast presented by Morton. And be sure to keep an eye on this space for more great conversations with great athletes and personalities in the sport this season coming up. I'm Matt Lieto, and thank you so much for listening in.